5 days after I got to my son's lake cabin, the man who takes care of the place grabbed my arm. His eyes looked scared. He yelled, "You need to leave right now before your son comes back from his boat ride. Come with me to the shed by the water. I have to show you something very important." When I saw what was hidden there, I almost fell down. Please click the button to follow our channel and tell us where you are watching from. I have learned that getting older teaches you many things. You learn to wait. You learn about life. And you learn when something is very, very wrong. I am 65 years old now. I thought I knew about all the hard things in life. But I was not ready for this. The letter from my son's wife came when summer was ending. The trees near my house in Tennessee were starting to turn orange and yellow. "Dear Mom," she wrote in her nice writing, "please come stay with us at the mountain cabin for 1 week. Daniel got this place 6 months ago and we are making it pretty. The mountains look amazing right now and you should take a break." She was right that I needed rest. My husband Robert died 2 years before this happened. Since then, I had been working very hard on our small garden and animals. Maybe too hard for a woman my age. My body hurt every morning when I woke up. But working hard helped me not feel so lonely. The cabin was near Crystal Lake up in the Smoky Mountains. It was 3 hours away from where I lived. Sarah came to pick me up on a sunny Monday morning. Her white car was shiny in my driveway. She looked very tired. I could see dark spots under her eyes that her makeup could not hide. "How is everyone doing?" I asked her while we drove on the curvy mountain roads. "Very busy," she said. She did not look at me. She watched the road. "Daniel has been going to the cabin a lot. He says he needs to watch the workers fix things." My son Daniel was always very careful with his money. He was 38 years old now. He had a company that helped other companies in Nashville. The lake place was supposed to be somewhere our family could go together. A place where his 2 boys who were teenagers could stop looking at their phones and enjoy nature. "Are the boys excited about the cabin?" "Yes." Sarah's hands held the wheel very tight. "They have not seen it yet. Daniel wants everything to be perfect before they come." Something about the way she said this made me remember it. It was like a small piece of a puzzle that I did not understand yet. The cabin showed itself slowly as we drove down toward the lake. It was a big wooden house with a gray roof. Tall pine trees were all around it. A long wooden path went out into the water. The water was so clear that I could see rocks at the bottom. A small building sat at the end of the wooden path. It looked old but strong. "This is so pretty," I said. "Needs a lot of work," Sarah said very fast. "The man who owned it before Daniel let things get messy." Daniel came out of the cabin. He was wiping his hands on his pants. My son was tall like his father was. He always looked serious. But now he had a worried look on his face that made me concerned. "Mom." He hugged me. I could smell wood dust and lake water on him. "I'm so glad you came. I need help looking at this place." "Help from who?" "Yes. The caretaker. His name is Walter Brown. He lives in a small house on this land. He is an older man who knows everything about the lake. He has been helping me so much." That night, while Sarah made dinner in the new kitchen, I walked down to the wooden path. The September air was cold. It made me think that fall was coming early. The door to the small building by the water was open a little bit. It was making noise as the wind pushed it. I was going to look inside when a shadow moved next to me. "Mrs. Patterson," I jumped. I was startled. A man who looked about 70 years old stood there. His face had many lines on it. He looked worried. He wore an old work coat and was holding a fishing pole. "Walter Brown," he said. He put out his rough hand to shake mine. "I did not mean to scare you." "You did not scare me," I said. But my heart was still beating fast. "It is a nice evening." "Yes, it is," he said. He looked at the small building by the water and then back at me. His next words came out fast. He seemed nervous. "Your son is a good man for buying this place. The man who had it before, well, some people around here worried about him." "What kind of worries?" Walter's eyes looked quickly toward the cabin. I could see Daniel's shape moving past a window. "Maybe nothing. Just small town talk. But if you are staying here for a while, Just keep watching things carefully. Before I could ask more questions, he touched his hat and walked away into the getting dark sky. The next 4 days were nice. Daniel worked on fixing old wooden boards on the deck. Sarah and I cleaned and organized things inside the cabin. The man who owned the place before had left very few things. Some furniture and a few boxes in the basement. Nothing personal. It was like he wanted to erase that he was ever here. On the 5th morning, Daniel said he was taking his boat out early. There is a place on the north side of the lake where the fish are biting. I will be home by lunchtime. I spent the morning on the porch with my coffee and a book. I was enjoying being alone. Around 10 o'clock, Walter came walking up. His face was white. His hands were shaking. "Mrs. Patterson, I need to talk to you alone." Something in his voice made my stomach feel strange and worried. "Course. Do you want to come inside?" "No," he said. He looked back at the empty driveway where no cars were parked. Sarah had driven to town to buy things. "Come with me right now before your son comes back." Every part of me said to be careful. But something in Walter's scared face made me follow him. He took me down to the wooden path. He was walking so fast that I could not breathe well. When we got to the small building, he tried to open the lock with shaking hands. "I should not have keys to this," he said quietly. "But after what I found yesterday, after what I figured out." "Walter, what is this all about?" "Yes." He pulled the door open hard. The inside was dark. It smelled like wood and water. Fishing things were on the walls. Poles, nets, and boxes. Everything looked normal until Walter pulled away a big sheet in the corner. I could not breathe. Under the sheet were stacks and stacks of packages wrapped in plastic. There were so many of them. There were also books with writing and cases that water could not get into. Even though I was far away and did not touch anything, I knew this was very, very wrong. "I do not understand," I said very quietly. "Daniel would never do this." "No, he would not." Walter's voice was breaking. "That is the problem. I do not think your son knows this is here. But other people do." "Other people." 2 weeks ago, police came around asking questions about this land and about the new owner. "They are watching, Mrs. Patterson. They think your son is doing what the man before him was doing." My legs felt weak. I held on to the door. What was the man before doing? Walter's face was very serious. Thomas Reed used this place to move illegal things. Bad stuff coming from the south and going north. It was not huge, but it was steady. When he died quickly last spring, everything stopped. Now someone has started it again. The law thinks it is your son. That cannot be true. Daniel is a businessman who travels a lot for work. And he bought this place through a private sale. And he spends lots of hours here alone. Walter's words were gentle, but they hurt to hear. From the outside, it looks exactly like what bad people want it to look like. The sound of a boat motor came across the water. "He is coming back early." Walter grabbed my arm. His hand was strong. "Get out of here before your son comes back. Come with me to the shed." He stopped. He realized we were already at the shed. "You have seen it now. But there is more. Something you need to see right away." He pulled out a folder that water could not damage. It was hidden behind a loose board that I had not seen before. Inside were pictures. Pictures of someone watching Daniel at this place. They had dates and times on them. Under those were old pictures of Thomas Reed. He looked a lot like Daniel. Tall, dark hair, same body shape. I almost fainted when I understood what I was seeing. Someone had been carefully taking pictures of this place for months. They were making a picture story that could easily mix up Daniel with Reed from far away. But what I found as I looked through the folder was even worse. Someone was trying to make people think Daniel was guilty. They were using this cabin's bad history and the fact that Daniel looked like Reed to build a case against him. There were bank papers with fake signatures. There were shipping lists with dates that matched when Daniel visited. There were made-up records of phone calls. The boat motor got louder. "He cannot know you were here," Walter said in a harsh whisper. He shoved the folder back in its hiding place and put the sheet back. "Not yet. Not until we understand who is doing this." We ran out of the small building just as Daniel's boat came around the point of land. Walter walked away fast toward his cottage. He left me standing on the wooden path. My mind was spinning with terrible knowledge. My son was being confused with the man who owned this place before. A man who had used this lake place for bad things. Daniel had bought the cabin less than 6 months ago. He was innocent and did not know anything. Now I had to help him prove he was innocent. But I could not let him know that I knew anything. As Daniel waved from his boat that was coming closer, he had a happy smile on his face that did not know what was happening. I made myself wave back. But my hands were shaking. In my pocket, my fingers found the small card Walter had given me in those last seconds. It had only a phone number and 3 words written on it. Do not trust anyone. The pieces of a bad plan were starting to make sense. I had just walked into the middle of a dangerous game. My son was being used like a toy. Even worse, I had no idea who was playing the game. I did not know how far they would go to win. I did not sleep that night. Daniel had come back from fishing feeling happy. He showed us 3 fish he had caught. We cooked them for dinner. He talked with excitement about finishing the deck before winter came. Sarah had smiled and nodded her head. But I saw her watching him with a look I could not understand. It was worry mixed with something else. Maybe giving up. Now at 3 o'clock in the morning, I sat at the kitchen table. I had chamomile tea that had gotten cold in my cup. Through the window I could see the shed. It was a dark shape against the moonlight on the water. Inside it was proof that could destroy my son's life. Walter's card was in front of me. I had learned the phone number by heart. But I had not called it yet. Do not trust anyone, he had written. Did that include Sarah? My own daughter who married my son. I thought about the pictures and the fake papers. Someone had been planning this for months. Maybe since before Daniel even bought this place. That much planning meant they had money and patience. It also made me ask a scary question. What did they want? Jump. I almost knocked over my tea. Sarah stood in the doorway. She was wearing a robe. Her hair was down around her shoulders. Could not sleep either. Yes. She walked to the counter to make coffee. This place has that effect sometimes. Too quiet if that makes sense. I understand what you mean. I watched her very carefully. Sarah, what do you know about the man who owned this place before Daniel? Her hand stopped moving on the coffee can. Thomas Reed. Not much. Why? Just wondering. It seems strange that someone would sell such a pretty place for the price Daniel paid. He did not sell it. He died. Sarah measured coffee very carefully. More than she needed to. Heart attack, I think. His family sold everything fast. Daniel got lucky with the timing. Lucky. The word felt bad in my mouth. Did Daniel ever meet him before buying this place? Well, lawyers and a house-selling person handled everything. Sarah turned to look at me. Her face was guarded. Mom, what is this about? I made a choice right then. Maybe the wrong choice. Nothing specific. Walter said something yesterday about local people talking about this place. I wondered if you heard anything. Sarah's face got hard. Walter Brown talks too much. The people who live here do not like outsiders buying lakefront land. That is all it is. Small town prejudice against people from the city. But her voice had an edge that made me think she knew more than she was saying. Before I could ask more questions, headlights came through the windows. A car was coming up the long driveway at a strange hour. Sarah moved to the window. Her body was tense. Who would come now? The car was a dark SUV. Stopped near the cabin. 2 men got out. They both wore normal clothes that did not quite hide that they were official. The shorter one knocked on the door with authority. I will get it, Sarah said quickly. But I was already moving to the door. I opened it to find 2 men holding badges. The shorter one, who was maybe 45 with gray in his hair, spoke first. Sorry to bother you so late. I am Detective Harris. This is Detective Simmons. We are looking for Daniel Patterson. He is sleeping, I said. I blocked the doorway. What is this about? Just some questions about the land. Routine follow-up. Harris smiled, but his eyes did not smile. We talked with the previous owner's family. Some things are missing from what he owned. We are checking with the new owner to see if anything was left behind. 'Twas a lie. I could feel it deep inside. This was not about missing furniture or forgotten things. My son bought this land legally through a sale, I said calmly. I'm sure he has all the papers. I'm sure he does. Simmons, the taller detective, tried to look past me into the cabin. Still, we would like a quick talk. It will not take long. At 3 o'clock in the morning, Sarah came beside me. Her voice was sharp. You can come back at a normal hour with an appointment. Mrs. Patterson, Harris's face got a bit harder. I am Daniel's wife, Sarah said. And unless you have a warrant, you can leave our land. The two detectives looked at each other. Some message passed between them without words. Course, Harris said smoothly. We will be in touch to schedule something. Have a good night, ladies. We watched them drive away without talking. Only when the tail lights were gone did Sarah turn to me. Her face was white. This is exactly what I was afraid of, she whispered. What do you mean? Mom, I need to show you something. But you have to promise not to tell Daniel. Not yet. She took me to the small office in the cabin where Daniel kept his work papers. From a locked drawer that she had a key for, I noticed. Sarah pulled out a folder full of papers. These started coming 2 months ago, she said. She spread papers on the desk. Anonymous tips sent to our house. Police reports about Thomas Reed. Articles about smuggling on this lake. And letters. I picked up one of the letters. The message was short. It was printed on plain paper. Ask your husband what he really does at the lake house. There are more, Sarah said. Her voice was breaking. Some came to Daniel's office. Some to our home. One even went to his business partner. Did you tell Daniel? Course I did. He laughed it off. He said someone was trying to hurt a business competitor. But then police started showing up. They asked questions about his travel schedule and his money. She sat in a chair. Mom, someone is trying to destroy him on purpose. And I do not know why. I thought about the shed and the things Walter had shown me. Sarah did not know about that yet. Should I tell her? Has Daniel noticed anything strange at this place? Ask carefully. Anything out of place or suspicious? He has barely been inside the shed. He says it needs work on the structure before we can use it. Sarah looked up at me. Her eyes were red. You think there is something there, do not you? That is why you asked about Reed. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A text from a number I did not know. They are watching the cabin. Cameras on the road coming in. Check your son's truck. They put something in it yesterday. My blood felt cold. I showed Sarah the message. Who sent this? She asked loudly. I do not know. Another lie. But I needed to talk to Walter before bringing Sarah into this more. We should wake Daniel, Sarah said. She stood up fast. Whoa. I grabbed her arm. Think about it. If someone put something in his truck and we find it now in the middle of the night right after police came, that looks like we are hiding something. Like someone warned us. Then what do? We wait until morning. We act normal. And we figure out who is behind this before we do anything. I tried to sound confident. But inside I was very scared. Do you trust me? Sarah looked at my face for a long time. I trust you more than anyone. But Mom, if Daniel is in real danger, we need to be smart, not quick to react. That is what they want. For us to panic and make mistakes. She nodded slowly but did not want to. We went back to our rooms. But I knew neither of us would sleep. When the sun came up, I got dressed quietly and went outside. The morning fog was on the lake like a blanket. I walked toward Walter's cottage. I tried to look casual in case anyone was watching. Walter opened the door before I could knock. His face looked tired. Like he had not slept either. You sent the text, I said. I did not ask. I just said it. Had to warn you. They moved faster than I thought they would. He pulled me inside quickly. Did you check the truck? Not yet. Walter, who are they? Who is doing this? That is what I have been trying to figure out. He moved to a desk covered with papers and pictures. Thomas Reed was not working alone. He had partners, people who supplied things. People who moved things. When he died, that network fell apart. Someone is trying to build it back. But they need this land to do it. But Daniel owns it now. Exactly. So they are trying to force him to leave. Or frame him so badly that he has no choice but to sell quickly and quietly to avoid being arrested. Walter pointed to a picture of a man in an expensive suit. This is Marcus Webb. He is a lawyer in Nashville. He represented several land developers. He was also Reed's lawyer. You think he is behind this? I think he is connected. 3 weeks ago, he came to Daniel about selling the land. He offered twice what Daniel paid. Mason should not have been for sale in the first place, Sarah said. Her lawyer mind was making connections. The judge watching over Reed's things was suspicious of Webb. He ordered a public auction to make sure it got a fair price. To keep Webb from just taking it back. Daniel won the auction with his bid. He messed up Webb's plan to get the land back quietly. Walter nodded. Exactly. And that is when things got bad. The anonymous letters. The police attention. It all started after Daniel said no to that offer. My heart sank. Daniel did not mention that. 'Cause he refused right away. He told Webb the cabin was not for sale at any price. Walter's face was serious. That is when things got worse. The anonymous letters. The police attention. It all started after Daniel turned down that offer. We need proof. We need more than proof. We need to understand what is really in that shed and who put it there. Walter pulled out a set of keys. Tonight, when your son takes his evening walk. He does that every night around 8 o'clock. We search that shed the right way. We take pictures of everything. But we do not touch anything. And then we figure out who we can trust in law enforcement. Because not everyone in the sheriff's department is bad. But someone clearly is. I left Walter's cottage with my mind spinning. As I got close to the cabin, I saw Daniel loading fishing things into his truck bed. This was my chance. Morning, Mom, he called happily. Wanna come fishing with me? The early morning bite should be good. Maybe later. I moved closer. I looked at the truck bed while pretending to look at his fishing poles. You have collected a lot of equipment. Sarah says I am obsessed. He smiled. She is probably right. Then I saw it. Small GPS tracker. It was magnetic. It was attached to the underside of the truck bed's rail. Right where someone could put it in seconds while walking past the truck. I must have made a sound because Daniel turned around. Mom, are you okay? I'm fine. Just a bit stiff from the cold. I made myself smile. You go ahead. I will have breakfast ready when you get back. As Daniel drove away with the tracker still on his truck, I understood the full size of what we were dealing with. This was not just about making my son look guilty for Reed's crimes. Someone wanted this land badly enough to plan a complicated conspiracy. It involved fake papers, police watching, and high-tech tracking. The question that stayed in my mind as I walked back inside was this. What was really in that shed? And more importantly, what were they willing to do to get it? Sarah met me at the door. Her phone was in her hand. Her face was white as paper. Mom, she whispered. Daniel's business partner just called. The FBI contacted him. They asked questions about Daniel's recent cash transactions and travel patterns. They are building a federal case. The net was closing faster than I had feared. We had hours, not days, to act. And I still did not know who I could trust besides Walter, a man I had only met 5 days ago. The call from Daniel's business partner changed everything. Sarah walked around the living room. Her phone was in her white-knuckled hand. They asked Marcus about cash withdrawals Daniel made over the past 6 months. Specific amounts. Specific dates. How would they even know about those? Bank records, I said quietly. Someone has been watching his money closely. Marcus said the agent seemed to already have answers. They were testing him. Seeing if he would lie to protect Daniel. Sarah stopped walking and looked at me with scared eyes. Mom, they are building a case. A real case. What do we do? I thought about the GPS tracker on Daniel's truck. It was broadcasting his location right now to whoever was doing this nightmare. Every move we made was probably being watched. Every talk we had was maybe being recorded. We need to talk to Daniel, I said. All of us together. No more secrets. He will never believe it. He has to. And we have to do it somewhere they cannot listen. I looked at the cabin walls. Suddenly I felt paranoid. Walter's cottage. He is the only one who understands what is really happening. Sarah hesitated. Then she nodded. Daniel should be back within the hour. But Mom, if we are wrong about Walter, if he is part of this, then we are already lost. It was a sad truth to think about. But it was true. Daniel came back at 9:30 with more fish. His happy mood broke when he saw our faces. What happened? He asked. He put down his fishing things. We need to talk, Sarah said. Privately. At Walter's cottage. Walter's cottage. What does the caretaker have to do with anything? Daniel, I interrupted. Please trust us. Something in my voice must have made him believe. 10 minutes later, the three of us walked through morning sunlight toward Walter's cottage. We tried to look casual. I felt eyes watching us. Real eyes or imagined eyes. I could not tell anymore. Walter answered our knock right away. His weathered face was serious. Come in quickly. His cottage was small but clean. The walls were covered with maps of the lake and land around it. A laptop sat open on a messy desk. It showed what looked like land records. Someone want to tell me what is going on? Daniel asked. His patience was running out. I took a deep breath. There is something in the shed. Something that was left behind or put there by whoever used this land before you bought it. Daniel's face went white. What are you talking about? Your son is being framed, Walter said bluntly. Someone wants everyone to believe you are doing what Thomas Reed was doing with smuggling. They have planted things. They made fake papers. And they gave information to law enforcement to build a case against you. That is crazy. Daniel looked at Sarah and then at me. You cannot really believe this. There is a GPS tracker on your truck, I said quietly. Someone put it there in the last 2 days. And the FBI is looking into your money. The color left Daniel's face. He fell into a chair. His hands were shaking. This cannot be happening. I bought this place the right way. I've done nothing wrong. That is what makes you the perfect target, Walter said. He pulled out the folder of pictures and papers. You look enough like Thomas Reed to be confused with him in pictures from far away. You travel often for work. You have made regular trips here. On paper you fit what they are looking for perfectly. Daniel looked at the proof. His face changed from disbelief to horror. Why? Why would someone do this? Because they want the land, I said. And they need you desperate enough to sell it quickly before any arrest happens. Marcus Webb, Sarah whispered. The lawyer who offered to buy the cabin. You said he seemed too eager. Too pushy. Walter nodded. Webb was Reed's lawyer. I think he knows what is hidden here. Something valuable enough to plan this whole thing. Hidden where? Daniel asked loudly. I have been over every inch of this land. Not every inch. Walter stood. His face was determined. We need to search the shed the right way. Tonight after dark, we take pictures of everything we find. But we do not move anything. We need proof of the proof. This is crazy, Daniel said quietly. But his eyes showed he was starting to accept the nightmare was real. What if we just call the police? Explain everything. Some of the police are involved, Walter said seriously. Those detectives who came last night. Harris and Simmons. They are not from the local sheriff's office. Check. They are private investigators pretending to be law enforcement. The truth hit like being punched. That is illegal, Sarah said. So is framing an innocent man for smuggling. Walter pulled up a paper on his laptop. I've been doing research. Thomas Reed died 6 months ago. The official story is heart attack. But there was no autopsy. And the death certificate was signed by a doctor who retired 2 weeks later and moved to Mexico. You think Reed's death was not natural? Said slowly. I think someone wanted him gone. They wanted his operation shut down for a little while. Then they could start it again with a new person in charge. Except Daniel refused to play along by refusing to sell. Daniel stood up fast. He was very upset. This is insane. We should contact the real FBI. The state police. When? With what proof? Walter challenged him. Right now, all the proof points to you. We contact authorities now and you will be arrested within hours. We need something to bargain with first. He is right, I said. Even though every part of me wanted to protect my son right now. Daniel, we need to know what we are dealing with before we act. My son looked at me. Fear and trust were fighting in his eyes. What do you think we should do, Mom? The question was heavier than just the immediate problem. Daniel was asking me to lead. To make choices that could save him or destroy him. At 65 years old, I had never felt the weight of my age more strongly. We search the shed tonight, I said firmly. We take pictures of everything. And then we figure out who Marcus Webb really is and what he wants. I can help with that, Sarah said quietly. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through messages. After Webb came to Daniel, I did some digging. He represents a development company called Mountain Vista Properties. They have been buying up waterfront land all around Crystal Lake for the past 2 years. Development. Walter's face got sharp with interest. What kind of development? Luxury resorts, supposedly. But they have been very secretive about their plans. Sarah showed us her phone screen. It had a news article on it. There is opposition from environmental groups. Something about the lake's water table and protected wetlands. I looked at the article. A suspicion was forming in my mind. What if it is not about development at all? What if that is just the cover story? For what? Daniel asked. Before anyone could answer, Walter's phone rang. He looked at the screen. His face went stiff. It is the county sheriff. The real one. He answered and put it on speaker. This is Walter speaking. Walter, it is Sheriff Jackson. I need to ask you about the Patterson property. We have received a complaint from a federal agency about suspected illegal activity. I am going to need to bring Daniel Patterson in for questioning. My heart stopped. When? Walter asked. His voice was steady even though his jaw was tight. This afternoon. I am sending deputies at 3 o'clock. Tell him to cooperate fully and it will go easier. Walter, I have known you 20 years. Is there something I should know about this situation? Walter looked at me across the room. This was the moment. Trust the local sheriff or think everyone was bad. Sheriff, Walter said carefully. I think you should come alone first. Before the deputies. There is information about the previous owner you need to hear. Another pause. This one was longer. I will be there at 1 o'clock. Just me. This better be good, Walter. The call ended. We all looked at each other in the heavy silence. You just bet everything on Jackson being clean, Daniel said. I have known him since he was a deputy, Walter replied. He is honest. If anyone can help us, it is him. And if you are wrong, Sarah whispered, then Daniel will be arrested this afternoon. And we will have told what we know to the wrong person. Walter's face was serious but determined. We are out of time and options. We need someone in law enforcement on our side. And Jackson is our best chance. I looked at the clock. It was 10:47 in the morning. We had 2 hours and 13 minutes before the sheriff came. 2 hours to prepare proof and arguments and prayers that we were not making a terrible mistake. We need to search the shed now, I said. Before Jackson gets here. In broad daylight. Daniel protested. We do not have the luxury of waiting for dark. I stood up. I was surprised by the strength in my own voice. Sarah, you stay here and make a timeline of everything suspicious. The letters. The police visits. Webb's offer. Daniel, Walter, and I will handle the shed. As we walked toward the wooden path, the late morning sun shining on the water felt strange and unreal. I was a 65-year-old widow who should have been taking care of my garden, not preparing to search for proof in a criminal conspiracy. Yet here I was, leading my son and a man I barely knew into possible danger because I was the only one thinking clearly. Age had taught me one important lesson. Panic is something you cannot afford when things are bad. Walter unlocked the shed door. Inside, the space looked exactly like it had 5 days ago. Fishing equipment, nets, and the corner with a sheet. But now, in daylight coming through dirty windows, I saw details I had missed before. There I pointed at the ceiling beams. Fresh marks from someone climbing. Someone has been climbing up there recently. Daniel followed where I was looking. There is a storage loft. I have not been up there yet. The ladder looked like it might break. It is safe, Walter said seriously. I tested it last night. There is more up there. A lot more. We climbed carefully. Daniel went first. Then Walter helped me up. The loft was full of boxes, all carefully sealed and labeled with codes I did not know. Daniel opened one box. Then he jerked back like he had been burned. No. Inside were bundles of cash. Hundreds and hundreds of them. Neatly stacked and wrapped. Next to the cash boxes were other boxes. They had what looked like medicine packaging. But the labels had been taken off. How much is here? Sarah's voice came from below. She had followed us even though I told her to stay. Millions, Walter said quietly. This is not small-time smuggling. This is a major place for moving illegal things. Mason's face had gone gray. This was here when I bought the land. I never came up here. I never knew. They know that, I said. I was fighting my own panic. That is why they are framing you. You are the perfect person to blame because you are really innocent. Sarah pulled out her phone and started taking pictures. Her hands were shaking, but she had purpose. We need proof that this was here before Daniel bought the place. Time stamps. Something. Look at the dust patterns, I said. I was studying the floor. These boxes have been here for months. Maybe longer. See how the dust is not disturbed except for one path. One set of footprints going back and forth. Walter knelt down. He was looking at the footprints. Size 11 work boots. Daniel, what size shoe do you wear? Size 10. And the footprints are older. At least a month old, judging by how much dust has settled. Walter stood up. His face had relief and worry mixed together. This is good. This proves someone else has been coming up here. It also proves the illegal stuff is real, Daniel said. His voice was hollow. They did not plant fake things. They left the actual operation here, knowing I would take the blame for it. A sound from outside made us all freeze. Car was coming. Way too early to be Sheriff Jackson. Walter moved to the window. Black SUV. It is Harris and Simmons. The fake detectives. They are not supposed to come back until the real deputies arrive, Sarah whispered. Unless they know we are searching, I said. My blood ran cold. Unless they have been watching and decided to act now. The SUV doors opened. Harris and Simmons got out. But they were not alone. Third man stepped out. He was tall. Perfectly dressed in a gray suit even though we were at a lake. Even from far away, I recognized him from Walter's pictures. Marcus Webb had come to collect his property. And we were trapped in the shed with millions of dollars in proof that would send my son to prison for decades. We need to get out of here, Daniel said in a harsh whisper. His face was pale in the dim loft light. Too late, Walter whispered. They are already at the door. Through the dirty shed window, I watched Marcus Webb and his two helpers walk closer. Webb moved like a man who believed he had already won. His expensive shoes made crunching sounds on the gravel path. Harris carried what looked like a briefcase. Simmons kept one hand inside his jacket. That gesture made my stomach feel sick with fear. The back window, Sarah said urgently. She pointed to a small opening hidden by fishing nets. We could climb down to the water. And go where? Daniel demanded. They will see us right away. Then we stay, I said. I surprised myself with how calm my voice sounded. We stay and we face them. Mom, they are criminals. And we are innocent people with nothing to hide. I looked into my son's eyes. Right now they think we do not know what is in this shed. They think they are in control. Let us use that. Daniel studied me for a moment. Then he nodded slowly. She is right. If we run, we look guilty. If we stay, we are just a family looking at their property. Looking at a locked shed, Sarah's voice cracked with stress. That I unlocked for them as the caretaker, Walter said firmly. Let me handle this. All of you get down from this loft. Act like we were just checking for water damage or problems with the structure. We climbed down quickly. My knees that hurt from arthritis complained with every step. Daniel helped me to the floor just as the shed door swung open. Marcus Webb stood there with the bright sun behind him. His smile was sharp like broken glass. "Well, this is convenient, Mr. Patterson. We meet again." "Mr. Webb," Daniel's voice was steady, but I could see the tension in his shoulders. "What brings you out here?" "Concern for a client." Webb stepped inside. Harris and Simmons came with him like trained guard dogs. "I heard through connections that you might be having some legal problems. As someone interested in this land, I thought I should check in." How thoughtful. I moved forward. I put myself a little bit between Webb and my son. "I am Daniel's mother, Helen Patterson. And you are trespassing." Webb's eyes looked at me with amusement. "Actually, Mrs. Patterson, I have papers giving me right of access to this land. A clause in the original sale agreement that your son may have missed." He nodded to Harris. Harris opened the briefcase and took out a document. Daniel took it. His face got dark as he read. "This is fake," Daniel said flatly. "There was no such clause in my purchase agreement." "Are you certain?" "Because the county clerk's office has this version on file." Webb's smile got wider. "Signed by you. Notarized. And dated. It gives the previous owner's legal representative, that would be me, access to the land to recover any personal items left behind." The way this trap was set up was amazing. They had made fake documents and filed them officially, creating a paper trail that would be hard to challenge. "What personal items?" "Yes." Kept my voice level. "As you can see, there is nothing here but fishing equipment." "Oh, I think we both know that is not quite true." Webb moved deeper into the shed. His eyes traveled to the corner with the sheet. "Thomas Reed left behind some valuable property. Property that legally belongs to his estate, which I represent. Then file a proper claim through the courts," Sarah said. Her lawyer instincts came out. "You cannot just walk onto private land and take things. But I can look around and document items under the terms of this agreement." Webb pulled out his phone. "Unless, of course, the new owner is hiding something and would prefer I not look around." It was a perfect trap. Say no and we looked guilty of hiding proof. Say yes and Webb would find the illegal things we just found. Probably with his fake detectives as witnesses. "Go ahead and look," I said before Daniel could respond. "We have nothing to hide." Webb's eyebrows went up a little. He had not expected that response. How refreshing. "Walter, would you mind removing that sheet?" Walter did not move. "I work for the Pattersons now, Mr. Webb. Not for you." "You see." Webb's face got harder. "Then I suppose we will have to." The sound of cars coming cut him off. Through the open door, I saw 2 sheriff's department cars coming up the drive. An unmarked sedan followed them. "Expecting company?" Webb asked. His tone was sharp now. "Actually, yes," Walter said. I heard relief in his voice. Sheriff Jackson was scheduled to arrive at 1 o'clock. "Looks like he brought backup." Webb's calm broke for just a moment. A flash of anger quickly covered up. "How fortunate. I am sure the sheriff will be interested in what is hidden in this shed." "I am sure he will," I agreed. I met Webb's eyes without looking away. Sheriff Jackson was a thick man in his 50s with iron gray hair and smart eyes that missed nothing. He entered the shed with 2 deputies behind him. He took in the scene with one quick look. "Mr. Webb," he said. His tone was neutral. "Did not expect to find you here." "Sheriff, I was just using my legal right to look at this land under the terms of the sale agreement." Webb's confidence had come back. "In fact, your timing is excellent. I believe there may be stolen property hidden here that needs to be recovered." "Is that so?" Jackson turned to Daniel. "Mr. Patterson, I'm going to need to ask you some questions. Federal agents contacted my office this morning with concerns about this land." "I understand, Sheriff," Daniel said quietly. "But before we go further, there is something you need to know. Something Walter discovered." "I am listening." Walter stepped forward. "Sheriff, 5 days ago I found illegal things hidden in this shed. I did not report it right away because I was trying to figure out who put it there. Daniel Patterson did not know it existed until this morning." That is a convenient story, Harris said loudly. We have proof that Mr. Patterson has been making regular trips to this land for months. The same patterns the previous owner made. Proof you should not have, Jackson said sharply. His eyes fixed on Harris. Who are you exactly? Detective Harris. Private investigations. I'm working under contract with me, Webb interrupted smoothly. I hired them to investigate possible fraud in the property sale. As the previous owner's lawyer, I have that right. And you found what exactly? Jackson's tone had gone cold. It was cold enough to freeze water. It suggests Daniel Patterson knew exactly what he was buying, Webb said. A fully working distribution hub complete with inventory and records. All conveniently hidden where he claims he never looked. Jackson moved to the sheet and pulled it back. He showed the packages underneath. His face stayed neutral. But I saw his jaw get tight. That is a serious amount of illegal things. Which we just discovered this morning, I said firmly. Sheriff, someone has been trying to frame my son on purpose. Anonymous letters. Fake documents. Even fake detectives pretending to be law enforcement. We have proof of all of it. Mrs. Patterson, Jackson said gently. I understand you want to protect your son. But nothing. Sarah pulled out her phone. She held it up. I have pictures with timestamps from 20 minutes ago. They show the dust patterns in the storage loft upstairs. Footprints that do not match Daniel's shoe size. Proof that this illegal stuff has been here for months. Long before my husband bought the land. That could be faked, Simmons said. So could a lot of things, Jackson replied. His attention was now fully on Sarah's phone. Let me see those photos. While Sarah showed the sheriff her pictures, I watched Webb. His mask of confidence had cracks in it. This was not going according to his plan. Sheriff, Webb said. His voice had a harder edge now. I think we are getting distracted from the main issue. There is illegal material on this land. The owner is legally responsible no matter when it was put here. That is not quite how the law works, Mr. Webb. And you know it. Jackson handed Sarah's phone back to her. These pictures are interesting. Very detailed. Almost like someone knew exactly what to document. We did, Walter said. Because I have been investigating this land since before Daniel bought it. Have records, Sheriff. Records of cars that came here in the months before Thomas Reed's death. License plates. I also have documentation of cash payments made to certain people in your department. The air in the shed became electric with tension. One of Jackson's deputies put his hand on his weapon. But he did not pull it out. That is a serious accusation, Walter, Jackson said slowly. It is a serious situation. Walter pulled a small notebook from his jacket. I did not know who to trust, so I kept my own investigation quiet. But now we are out of time. This is crazy, Webb snapped. Sheriff, I demand you arrest Daniel Patterson right away. There is enough proof here too, Mr. Webb. I am going to need you to step outside with my deputies. Jackson's voice carried clear authority. You two. Harris and Simmons. I need to speak with the Pattersons and Walter alone. You cannot be serious, Webb said. I have legal standing. You have a fake document giving you false property access. And 2 men pretending to be law enforcement in my county. Jackson's face had gone hard as granite. Now you can walk out on your own or my deputies can escort you. Choice. For a moment I thought Webb might refuse. His face got red with anger. His hands made fists. Harris and Simmons looked ready to make the situation violent. Then Webb smiled. It was a cold, terrible expression that made my skin crawl. Of course, Sheriff. We will wait outside. But I think you will find that the federal agents arriving within the hour will have a very different view of this situation. He walked out. Harris and Simmons followed him. The deputies went with them. This left Jackson alone with us in the shed. The sheriff waited until they were far enough away before speaking. All right, Walter. You have got about 30 minutes before federal jurisdiction takes over mine. Talk fast and convince me why I should not arrest Daniel Patterson right now. Because he is not the criminal here, I said. I stepped forward. Marcus Webb is. He has been using this land for smuggling. probably for years through Thomas Reed. When Reed died or was killed, Webb needed to restart the operation. But Daniel refused to sell, so Webb decided to frame him instead. He is using Daniel's similarity to Reed and his legitimate business travels as cover. That is a complicated conspiracy theory, Mrs. Patterson. It is the truth, Sarah said. And we can prove it. The question is, Sheriff, do you want to help us? Or are you going to let a federal case built on made-up proof destroy an innocent man? Jackson studied each of our faces one at a time. I saw him weighing options, thinking about risks, deciding who to trust. Finally, he pulled out his radio. Dispatch, this is Sheriff Jackson. I need you to pull all property records for Crystal Lake filed in the past 2 years. Specifically, anything involving lawyer Marcus Webb or Mountain Vista Properties. Also, get me contact information for the FBI field office. I need to speak with whoever is running the Patterson investigation. He clicked off the radio and looked at Daniel. Son, I am not arresting you yet. But I am also not letting you leave this land. You are under informal house detention until I sort this mess out. Understood. Daniel nodded. Relief and fear were fighting on his face. Walter, show me everything you have got. Photos. All of it. Jackson turned to me. Mrs. Patterson, I need you to write down everything that has happened since you got to this land. Every detail. No matter how small. What about Webb? Yes. He said federal agents are coming. Then we better work fast. Jackson's face was serious. Because if the FBI shows up and sees that illegal stuff before we establish a timeline proving Daniel's innocence, your son will be arrested on federal smuggling charges. And I will not be able to stop it. Through the shed door, I could see Marcus Webb on his phone. He was pacing and moving his hands angrily. Whatever he was saying, whoever he was calling, I knew we were running out of time. The trap was closing. And we had less than an hour to prove my son's innocence. Or watch him be swallowed by a conspiracy that had been months in the making. Sheriff Jackson set up his temporary command center in the cabin's dining room. He spread Walter's papers across the table like puzzle pieces. I sat at the kitchen counter writing furiously. I documented every suspicious detail from the past 5 days. Sarah worked on her laptop. She was cross-referencing dates and building a timeline. Daniel stood at the window watching Marcus Webb pace outside near his SUV. He was still on his phone. He is calling for help, Daniel said quietly. We are not going to have enough time. Then we make the time count, Jackson said. He studied Walter's notebook. His finger traced a series of dates. Walter, these car logs. You are sure about these license plates? Positive. I took pictures of every car that came to this land for 3 months before Reed died. Walter pulled out his phone. He scrolled through images. That silver Mercedes came twice a week like clockwork. It is registered to Mountain Vista Properties. The blue pickup belonged to a man named Derek Stone. He has a record for trafficking. And this black SUV. That is Webb's car, I said. I looked up from my writing. The same one Harris and Simmons drove here today. Jackson's face got darker. So Webb was visiting regularly before Reed died. That establishes a relationship beyond just lawyer and client. It establishes partnership, Sarah said. She did not look up from her screen. I have been digging into Mountain Vista Properties. It is a shell company. Layers within layers. But I finally traced the primary investor. A holding company based in the Cayman Islands. Wanna guess who set up that holding company? Marcus Webb, Jackson said. 3 years ago, Sarah turned her laptop around. She showed us incorporation documents. He is not just Reed's lawyer. He is the money behind the whole operation. Reed was the front man. The one who took the risks. Webb stayed clean. Hidden behind company structures. Until Reed died, I said slowly. The pieces were clicking together. Then Webb needed a new frontman. But Daniel refused to play along. So Webb decided to turn Daniel into an unwitting scapegoat instead. Walter pointed to his timeline. Look at the dates. Daniel closed on the property March 15th. 2 weeks later, these anonymous letters started. A month after that, The fake federal investigation began. Webb has been building this case step by step, waiting for the perfect moment to spring the trap. Which is now, Daniel said from the window. 2 cars just pulled up. Federal plates. My heart jumped. Through the window, I saw 2 sedans parking behind Webb's SUV. 4 agents got out. They were all wearing FBI windbreakers. Webb walked up to them right away. He was pointing toward the shed while talking fast. "We are out of time," Sarah whispered. Jackson stood up. His jaw was set. "No, we are not. I am the ranking law enforcement in this county. And that shed is part of an active local investigation. Federal jurisdiction does not take over mine until I say it does." "They will not see it that way," Daniel said. "Then I will make them see it." Jackson grabbed his radio. "Jenkins, Rodriguez, get out to the shed now. Secure that scene. And do not let anyone inside, federal or otherwise, until I give the word." He walked toward the door. But I caught his arm. "Sheriff, wait. You are walking into an ambush. Webb has been planning this for months. He will have answers for everything. Papers that make Daniel look guilty. What do you suggest, Mrs. Patterson? That we stop reacting and start controlling the story?" An idea had been forming in my mind. It was risky, but necessary. Webb thinks we are desperate and confused. Let us use that. Let us give him exactly what he expects. Until we do not. Jackson studied me for a long moment. "What did you have in mind?" Told him. 5 minutes later, we walked out to meet the federal agents as a group. The lead agent was a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense face. She showed her credentials. "Special Agent Martinez. BI. I am looking for Daniel Patterson." "That is me." Daniel stepped forward. His voice was steady despite the fear in his eyes. "I understand you have questions about this land." "More than questions, Mr. Patterson. We have proof suggesting you have been using this location for illegal distribution activities." Martinez pointed to her team. "We have a warrant to search the place." Of course, Daniel's answer clearly surprised her. "I have nothing to hide. In fact, I would like to show you something in the shed that I just discovered this morning. Something that I think will be very important to your investigation." Webb stepped forward quickly. "Agent Martinez, as the lawyer representing the previous owner's estate, I should warn you that Mr. Patterson has been tampering with proof. I saw him in the shed earlier, clearly disturbed by what he found." "What I found," Daniel said calmly, "was proof that I have been framed. And I can prove it." "This should be interesting," Webb said with a cold smile. We walked as a group toward the shed. Agents, deputies, Webb and his fake detectives, and my family. I felt every one of my 65 years in my aching knees. But I kept my pace steady, my face calm. This was the moment everything depended on. Inside the shed, Martinez looked at the illegal things with professional detachment. "This is a significant amount. Mr. Patterson, you expect me to believe you did not know this was here." "I expect you to look at the proof objectively," Daniel replied. He climbed to the storage loft. Martinez followed him. "Agent Martinez, look at the dust patterns around these boxes. See the footprints. Size 11 work boots. I wear size 10 running shoes. These prints are at least a month old based on the dust that has settled." "That does not prove anything," Webb started to say. "Look at the boxes themselves," Sarah interrupted. She climbed up with her phone. "I took pictures this morning with timestamps. The cardboard shows water staining from the spring storms we had in April and May. Daniel did not buy this land until mid-March. And he did not start regular visits until June." Martinez looked at the boxes more closely. I saw her face change slightly. Doubt was creeping in. "That is circumstantial at best," Webb said from below. "Mr. Patterson could have staged all of this after discovering we were on to him." "He could have," I said. Pulled out my phone. "Except I have been recording conversations for the past 5 days. Including the one where you threatened my son to sell this land. And the one where your fake detectives tried to scare us." Webb's face went white as paper. "That is illegal recording." "Actually, Tennessee is a one-party consent state," Sarah said coolly. As long as one person in the conversation knows about the recording, it is allowed in court. And I have been documenting car traffic to this land for months, Walter added. He showed his phone to Martinez, including Mr. Webb's SUV visiting regularly before and after Thomas Reed's death. Martinez held up a hand. Everyone stopped talking. She looked at Jackson. Sheriff, what exactly is going on here? What is going on, Jackson said, is that Marcus Webb has been running a smuggling operation through this land for years. When his partner Reed died, he needed to get control of the location back. Daniel Patterson bought it legally. He refused to sell it back. So Webb decided to frame him. He used Patterson's similarity to Reed and his business travel patterns. That is absurd, Webb snapped. I am a lawyer, a respected member of. You are a criminal, I said quietly. And every eye turned to me. And I can prove it. I pulled out a small envelope from my jacket. The one Walter had given me that morning. The one I had kept hidden until this moment. These, I said, handing them to Martinez, are pictures taken by Thomas Reed himself. He kept a personal insurance policy. Documentation of his partner's involvement in the operation. Walter found them hidden in his cottage, tucked inside a book Reed had given him months before he died. Webb lunged forward. But Harris and Simmons were suddenly blocked by Jackson's deputies, hands moving toward their weapons. Do not, Jackson said quietly. Martinez studied the pictures. Clear images of Webb meeting with known traffickers, handling packages, counting money. The final picture showed Webb and Reed together at the shed. The writing on the back read, "Just in case my partner forgets who is really at risk here." Or, Reed was planning to turn on you, Walter said to Webb. That is why he died so conveniently. Is it not? Heart attack with no autopsy. Death certificate signed by a doctor who immediately left the country. You cannot prove any of this, Webb said. But his voice had lost its confidence. We do not have to prove all of it, Martinez said. Her tone was hard now. Just enough to shift the investigation where it belongs. She turned to her team. Cuff Mr. Webb. Marcus Webb, you are under arrest for obstruction of justice, conspiracy to commit fraud, and suspicion of involvement in trafficking operations. We will add more charges as we investigate. This is outrageous. Webb sputtered as an agent pulled his arms behind his back. I am a lawyer. I know my rights. You cannot. I can and I am, Martinez said. And gentlemen, she addressed Harris and Simmons. I will need to see your real identification. Pretending to be law enforcement is a federal crime. Harris and Simmons looked at each other. Then they ran for the shed door. They made it 3 steps before Jackson's deputies tackled them both. In the chaos that followed, Webb shouting about lawyers, Harris and Simmons being handcuffed, agents securing proof, I found myself leaning against the shed wall. My legs were suddenly weak. Daniel came beside me. He wrapped his arm around my shoulders. Mom, how did you know about those pictures? I did not for certain. I managed a shaky smile. Walter mentioned this morning that Reed had given him a book months ago. Something about lake fish. When I asked to see it, there was a note tucked inside the cover. If anything happens to me, check page 147. The pictures were pressed between those pages like dried flowers. You kept that secret from all of us, Sarah said. She appeared on my other side. Even during the meeting with Jackson. Had to. If Webb suspected we had real proof, he would have run. Or called in more help. I looked at my daughter. Sometimes the best strategy is to appear weaker than you are. To let your opponent think they are winning. Right up until the moment you prove them wrong. Agent Martinez came over to us. Her face was softer now. Mrs. Patterson, I owe you an apology. We were so focused on the money proof pointing to your son that we did not look deeper at who was providing that proof. You were doing your job, I said. Webb is very good at manipulation. He has had years of practice. Well, he just made his last mistake. Martinez looked at where Webb sat handcuffed in the back of a federal car. His face was a mask of angry defeat. We will need statements from all of you. And Mr. Patterson, you are not completely clear yet. But based on what we have seen today, I believe you were targeted rather than guilty. What happens now? Daniel asked. Now we tear apart Marcus Webb's life piece by piece. Martinez said. Shell companies. Money records. Associates. Everything. She handed Daniel her card. Stay available. But you are free to go. We will be in touch. As the federal cars drove away with Webb, Harris, and Simmons in custody, the tension that had held me up for hours suddenly released. My knees buckled. Daniel caught me. He lowered me gently to sit on a wooden post by the dock. I'm fine, I said. But my hands were shaking. Just tired. Tired. Sarah laughed. There was a slightly crazy edge to it. Mom, you just took down a criminal conspiracy. You outmaneuvered a man who has been playing this game for years. You saved Daniel's life. I saved our family, I corrected quietly. That is what mothers do. Sheriff Jackson came over. His face had respect and amusement mixed together. Mrs. Patterson, you ever consider a career in law enforcement? We could use someone with your instincts. I am 65 years old, Sheriff. I think I will stick to gardening. Well, if you change your mind. He touched his hat. Walter, I will need you to come down to the station to give a formal statement. Those car logs of yours are going to be crucial proof. As Jackson and Walter walked away, I sat between my children looking out at the lake. The afternoon sun turned the water gold. And for the first time in days, the beauty of the place was not covered by fear. What do we do with the land now? Sarah asked softly. After everything that happened here. We reclaim it, I said firmly. We do not let Webb's corruption poison this place. We clean it out, renovate it the right way, and turn it into what it was meant to be. A family retreat where good memories can replace the bad ones. Daniel squeezed my shoulder. When did you become so wise, Mom? It does not make you wise, son. Experience does. And I have had 65 years of experience learning that the best weapon against evil is not violence or wealth. It is patience, observation, and the willingness to act when the moment is right. As we sat together in the fading afternoon light, I realized that this ordeal had given me an unexpected gift. For 2 years since Robert's death, I had felt smaller. Reduced to the role of widow taking care of a garden she no longer had the strength to properly manage. But these past days had reminded me that I was more than my age, more than my circumstances. I was Helen Patterson, and I had just proven that lived intelligence and hard-earned wisdom could win over youth, arrogance, and criminal cunning. The lake house would survive this darkness. And so would we. 3 months later, I stood on the newly finished deck of the lake house watching the first snow of December dust the pines with white. The cabin had been transformed. Not just physically, though the renovations Daniel and Sarah had done were beautiful, but spiritually. The shadow that had hung over this place had finally lifted. Mom, the coffee is ready, Sarah called from inside. I turned from the railing. I took in the warm glow of the cabin's interior. New furniture, fresh paint, and pictures of our family now decorated the walls. The shed had been completely torn down and rebuilt. Changed from a den of criminality into a proper storage space for kayaks and fishing equipment. Every trace of Marcus Webb's operation had been erased. But the memory of those terrifying days remained sharp in my mind. A reminder of how quickly ordinary life could spiral into nightmare, and how strength could emerge from unexpected places. Inside, Sarah handed me a steaming mug. Walter called earlier. He wanted to make sure we were coming for Christmas dinner at his cottage. We would not miss it. I settled into an armchair near the fireplace where Daniel was building up the flames. How was he doing? Better. Daniel added another log. Sparks rose up. The bonus I gave him helped. He has been able to fix up his cottage the right way. But I think what really helped was testifying against Webb. It gave him closure. The trial had been swift and final. Faced with overwhelming proof, the pictures, Walter's documentation, analysis of the fake papers, and testimony from several of Webb's former associates who agreed to cooperate, Marcus Webb had accepted a plea agreement. 25 years in federal prison for trafficking, conspiracy, fraud, and a dozen other charges. Harris and Simmons had received similar sentences. But the investigation had uncovered something none of us had expected. Webb's operation had been far more extensive than we had imagined. The lake house was just one spot in a network spanning 3 states. By taking down Webb, we had accidentally helped destroy an entire criminal enterprise. Has there been any update on the civil case? Yes. Sarah nodded. She pulled out her laptop. The judge ruled in Daniel's favor last week. Webb's assets, including his share in Mountain Vista Properties, are being liquidated to pay restitution. Daniel will recover all his legal fees plus damages. I do not want his money, Daniel said quietly. I never did. I just wanted my family safe. Then donate it, I suggested. Turn something evil into something good. Daniel looked at me thoughtfully. What did you have in mind? Over the next hour, as snow continued to fall outside, we planned. Daniel would use the restitution money to establish a legal defense fund for people falsely accused of crimes. People who, like him, found themselves trapped in situations beyond their control, facing arrest based on made-up proof. We could call it the Second Chance Foundation, Sarah suggested. Helping people get the legal representation they need to prove their innocence. I like that, Daniel said. It honors what we went through while helping others avoid the same nightmare. A knock at the door interrupted our planning. I opened it to find Sheriff Jackson standing on the porch. Snow dusted his uniform hat. Sheriff, come in, I said warmly. We were not expecting you. Just wanted to check in. See how you folks were settling. He stepped inside. He accepted the coffee Sarah offered. And to deliver some news. The FBI finished their investigation into my department. They found 2 deputies on Webb's payroll. Both have been arrested. I'm sorry, Daniel said. I know that must be difficult. Difficult but necessary. Jackson's face was serious. Corruption is like rot in wood. You have to cut it out completely or it spreads. We are better off knowing who we can trust. And Walter? Yes. Is he finally in the clear? Completely. The FBI commended him for his investigative work. Actually, they offered him a consulting position, using his knowledge of the lake community to help with ongoing cases. Jackson smiled. He turned them down, said he was too old for that kind of excitement. I laughed. I understood exactly how Walter felt. Sometimes the quiet life is underrated. After Jackson left, my grandchildren arrived. Daniel's teenage boys, Alex and Noah, along with Sarah's 12-year-old daughter, Lily. They had been kept away from the cabin during the investigation, shielded from the worst of what had happened. Now, finally, they could experience the place as it was meant to be. Family retreat. Grandma. Lily hugged me tight. The 12-year-old had grown taller since I had last seen her. All long limbs and bright eyes. Dad says you are a hero. Hardly, I said. I just did what needed to be done. You took down bad guys, Alex said. His 16-year-old face was bright with admiration. That is definitely hero territory. Noah, the quieter 14-year-old, came over more slowly. Were you scared, Grandma? I thought about the question carefully. Yes, I was scared. Very scared. But being brave does not mean you are not afraid. Means you do what is right even when you are afraid. How did you know what to do? Yes. I listened. I watched. I thought before I acted. I pulled him down to sit beside me. Your generation is growing up in a world that values quick reactions and instant responses. But sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is slow down. Pay attention. And think deeply about a problem before you solve it. Is that why you did not tell anyone about the pictures right away? Lily asked. She surprised me with her insight. Exactly. If I had shown them immediately, Webb might have found a way to discredit them, or create reasonable doubt. By waiting until we had built a complete case, timeline, documentation, multiple witnesses, we made the proof impossible to dismiss. Sarah watched this exchange with tears in her eyes. Later, as we prepared dinner together in the kitchen, she said quietly, "Thank you, Mom." For what? For showing my daughter. showing all of them what real strength looks like. Not the kind that comes from physical force or loud voices, but the kind that comes from wisdom and patience. He paused. She was chopping vegetables. After Dad died, I worried that you were fading away, becoming smaller somehow. I was wrong. You were just gathering your strength. Her words touched something deep inside me. Your father's death changed me, I admitted, but not in the way I expected. I thought I would be diminished without him. Instead, I discovered abilities I did not know I had. Not because I wanted to, but because I had to. And now I know that age is not about losing power. It is about refining it. All those years of raising children, managing a garden, navigating relationships, solving problems. They were not just life happening to me. They were training for moments exactly like what we faced this fall. That evening, after a dinner filled with laughter and warmth, I found myself alone on the deck again. The snow had stopped. Stars emerged in the clearing sky. They reflected in the lake's dark water. Daniel joined me. He wrapped a blanket around my shoulders. Cold out here, Mom. Beautiful though. I leaned against him, grateful for his solid presence. Daniel, I need to tell you something. During those darkest days when I thought we might lose everything, when I thought you might go to prison for crimes you did not commit, I learned something important. What is that? That family is more than blood or obligation. It is choice. Every day we choose to protect each other, to believe in each other, to stand together against whatever comes. I looked up at his face so like his father's. I chose to fight for you because you are my son, but also because you are a good man who deserved someone to fight for him. Daniel's eyes glistened in the starlight. I do not know how I can ever repay you. You do not repay me. You pass it forward. When your children need you, when anyone needs you, you do what I did. You stand firm. You think clearly. You act wisely. That is the legacy I want to leave. Not property or money, but the knowledge that intelligence and patience can overcome almost any obstacle, even criminal conspiracies, especially those. Smiled. Criminals count on people being afraid, being reactive, being isolated. When you refuse to panic, when you gather information carefully, when you build alliances, you take away their power. We stood together in comfortable silence. We watched the stars wheel overhead. Inside the cabin, I could hear my grandchildren's laughter, Sarah's voice joining in. This place, which 3 months ago had been the center of so much fear and darkness, had been reclaimed by light. The next morning, as we prepared to drive back to our homes, Walter arrived with a basket of fresh baked bread from a local bakery. Thought you could use provisions for the road, he said. His weathered face creased into a smile. Thank you, Walter. I took the basket. Then I pulled him aside. I never properly thanked you for everything you did. For trusting me with that information. For keeping records. For standing with us. Mrs. Patterson, I should be thanking you. Walter's voice got serious. I have lived on this lake for 40 years. Watched it change. Watched people come and go. When Reed started his operation, I knew something was wrong. But I did not know what. Do. I was just one old man. No power. No influence. You had something better than power, I said firmly. You had integrity and courage. And the wisdom to know when to act. I learned that from watching you. He smiled gently. You showed me that age is not weakness. It is strength refined by time. As we said our goodbyes and loaded the cars, I took one last look at the lake house. It stood proud and welcoming now. Smoke rising from the chimney. Icicles glittering from the eaves. A place of peace where there had been corruption. A home where there had been danger. We had done that. Not through violence or wealth or legal maneuvering alone. But through patience, intelligence, and the refusal to let fear dictate our actions. During the drive home to my farm, I reflected on how much had changed in 3 months. Daniel's consulting business had actually grown. Several clients, impressed by how he had handled the crisis with such grace, had increased their contracts. Sarah had been offered a partnership at her law firm, partly based on her skilled handling of Daniel's civil case. And me. I discovered that retirement from one phase of life did not mean retirement from life itself. When I pulled into my farmhouse driveway, the familiar sight of my land covered in snow brought a swell of emotion. This place, which had felt like a burden after Robert's death, now felt like a sanctuary. A place I had chosen to keep, to maintain, to love. Not out of obligation, but out of genuine desire. Inside, I found a letter waiting on the hall table. It had been forwarded from Daniel's address. The return address made my heart skip. It was from a woman in Ohio whose son was facing trafficking charges based on circumstantial evidence. I read about your family's case in the news, she wrote. I do not know if you can help. But I am desperate. My son is innocent. But we cannot afford the lawyers we need to prove it. Is there any way? I sat at my kitchen table reading her letter 3 times. Then I picked up my phone and called Daniel. The Second Chance Foundation, I said when he answered. I think we just found our first case. Over the following weeks, as winter deepened and December moved toward Christmas, our family worked together to help the woman in Ohio. Sarah provided legal consultation. Daniel funded an investigator. Coordinated communication. Drawing on the organizational skills honed over decades of managing a farm and family. It turned out the young man was indeed innocent. Framed by a former friend who had turned informant to reduce his own sentence. The false testimony crumbled under investigation. And the charges were dropped. The woman called me personally to say thank you. Her voice was breaking with gratitude. You saved my son's life. I do not know how to repay you. I thought about what I had told Daniel on the deck that snowy night. You do not repay me. When you have the chance, you help someone else. That is how we change the world. One act of wisdom and courage at a time. Now, on Christmas Eve, I sat by my fireplace with a cup of tea and my journal. I had started keeping one after the crisis at the lake house, documenting not just events, but the lessons learned. Tonight I wrote, I am 65 years old. Society tells me I should be winding down, stepping back, making room for younger generations. But I have learned that age is not decline. It is accumulation. Every year, every experience, every challenge overcome adds to the reservoir of wisdom we carry. When Marcus Webb tried to destroy my son, he made a fatal miscalculation. He assumed that an older woman, a widow from a small farm, would be easily intimidated or confused. He saw age in assumed weakness. He was wrong. My years gave me patience to wait for the right moment. Experience taught me to observe before acting. Decades of problem-solving showed me how to build alliances and gather evidence. The quiet strength forged through loss and perseverance gave me courage when fear threatened to overwhelm. Marcus Webb had youth, wealth, connections, and careful planning. I had something more valuable, lived intelligence, and the wisdom to use it. The lake house stands clean now, a testament to the truth that good can triumph over evil, not through might, but through wisdom, not through force, but through patience, not through wealth, but through integrity. This is the legacy I leave my children and grandchildren. That true power comes not from physical strength or youthful vigor, but from the accumulated wisdom of a life fully lived. That age is not something to be feared or dismissed, but respected and utilized. That sometimes the most dangerous opponent is the one who has learned to wait, to watch, and to act with surgical precision when the moment is exactly right. I am 65 years old, and I am just beginning to understand my own strength. Outside my window, snow began to fall again, covering my land in pristine white. Inside, the fire crackled warmly, and my home felt fuller than it had in years. I was not diminished by age. I was refined by it, and I was ready for whatever came next. This has been a Granny's Voice story. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our channel and share your thoughts in the comments below. Where are you watching from today?